midnight and fall into the arms of someone new. Everybody is a believer. We have faith in what we do. When the moonlight goes to your head, well, you might think you just been born anew. Wouldn't you like to go to a place so uncivilized? Wouldn't you like to know the feeling behind those eyes? Give yourself to the rhythm, calypso, pick you up and shake you down. Life begins with the sun sinking so low. Celebration comes in waves of sound. Out here at the edge of the world, women are life skin so smooth. Lose your heart on a Saturday night and Sunday morning be right back with you. Wouldn't you like to go to a place so uncivilized? Wouldn't you like to know the feeling behind those eyes? Wouldn't you like to go to a place so uncivilized? Wouldn't you like to know the feeling behind, the feeling behind, the feeling behind those eyes? Out here at the edge of the world, we're all having so much fun. Everybody dancing till midnight and fall into the arms of someone new. Fall into the arms of someone new. Fall into the arms of someone new. I've been on the sea with waves crashing down, the wind in my face and the stars falling down. Stood there half crazy, half world from home, gasping for breath and stranger than known. Well, I just can't stop. You don't know what it means to me. I fight my demons alone, and it's stranger than known. Well, why do you do it? I hear all the time. Why not relax, take it easy sometime? Well, I once heard a man, he said it quite well. I sleep when I'm dead, until then I say, well, I just can't stop. You don't know what it means to me. I fight my demons alone, and it's stranger than known.
Welcome.
It's stranger than known.
Welcome to Soul Food Books Poetry Nights. We're on. Welcome to Soul Food Books Poetry Night. I'm Lana Ayers, and along with
I've been through this desert
we've
when
been running
the
this
tears
series
from
for
my
over
eyes
5 years
could
now.
not come
And it
out
seems like it just
because
gets
it's
better
so
and better. And we owe a great deal of thanks to Soul Food Books for allowing us to host it. They are wonderful people. Give them a round of applause. We are going to have one raucous evening tonight. We have two fabulous estrogen-rich poets, which I'm very much in favor of. And there's even going to be a few men on the stage, I hear. So we'll have kind of a balanced evening. Somehow I lost my bios. There they are. So the way we we run this series is we invite one reader, and we ask that reader to invite whoever they want to read with, whatever person they feel they want to share the stage with. And we think it makes our series feel warmer and more interesting, more cohesive, and we get exposed to people we might not have known before, which is wonderful. And our featured reader tonight is someone that we heard at the open mic for the first time on this stage when I think Marjorie Manwaring was reading, and that was Nicole Hardy, and she just blew us away, and we invited her to be a feature. So I'm going to tell you about Nicole and who she chose as her co-reader. Nicole Hardy is the author of This Blonde and Mud Flap Girl's XX Guide to Facial Profiling, and she has copies here, and she has postcards too. No, that's okay. Well, so you have to talk to her at the break and get her books, get them signed, get her postcards. And the facial profiling was selected for publication at Main Street Rag Editor's Choice Chapbook Series, which is a really great series. She earned her MFA at Bennington College, writing seminars, and was nominated for 2007 Pushcart. One of her essays recently appeared in the New York Times, which is just like outstanding. What writer doesn't want to be in the New York Times? And there's a little bit about her in this wonderful page right here. This is it.
I have no idea.
There she is. Michael knows. Michael will show it to you. There you go. So that's pretty cool. So she did the Modern Love column for the New York Times, and she has poems forthcoming everywhere, including Nimrod, Sanskrit, and Ellipsis. And Nicole chose as her co-reader Arlene Kim, who we're delighted to have. Arlene grew up on the East Coast and now lives and writes on the West Coast. She received a BA in literature from Brown University and an MFA in poetry from the University of Minnesota, where her work won the 2007 Academy James Wright Prize, which is really top-notch. You can find some of her poems in Diagram, Switched on Gutenberg, Cha, Can't, and soon in Blackbird. Her first collection, What Have You Done to Our Ears to Make Us Hear Echoes, came from Milkweed Editions, and it's available for pre-sale on Amazon.com, so get your orders in now. It'll officially be out in July, which is wonderful. And she is someone that reads submissions for the DMQ Review, which is a great journal. Yes, and I highly recommend you submit to it and read it online. Send them stuff. There's Arlene. Ask her at the break. She has some stuff for us to purchase later.
No,
They're
they're just free.
just free. Oh.
Postcards with a poem on the back, and my sister's artwork on the front, and a couple of journals that have my work in it. They give me extra copies.
Wow, that's really generous. So go and meet Arlene at the break and thank her for her generosity. I have some postcards on the table too, which has the work of Dwayne Kirby Jensen on the front, and he did art responding to poems of mine that he saw in a journal we were both in, which is cool. So those are for you too. And we'll have a break after our featured readers, and there'll be an open mic. The sign-up sheet is at that table nearest the cashier. And the question for the evening, we always have a question because we feel it kind of gives a warmth to the open mic because we all know each other a little more as people when we answer a question. Tonight's question is, what is your favorite drink? So when you get up to the open mic, you tell us your favorite drink, and then you read your poem. But first, poetry from our features, and I'm going to bring Nicole up to tell us how she came to choose Arlene as her co-reader. Please welcome Nicole.
Can you guys hear me if I just don't scrunch down? Or should I? But then Arlene's going to not be able to. I know, then it'll. Okay, cool. So I met Arlene, 5-6 years ago. We were in a writers group together, and we met in the U District at Tully's Coffee, and I think I was invited to sit in once or twice. And I had nothing published at the time, and was feeling really unsure of myself. And this group sort of took me in, and Arlene was one of them. And that was before you went to Brown to get your MFA. And so we were all just sort of these fledgling poets. And Arlene has recently moved back. And I haven't heard what she's been working on in the last 5 years. She has a book coming out, and I remember her poetry being really good and really different from mine. So I just wanted you guys and myself to get to see something really cool and different.
Thank you, Nicole. All right. Yeah. No, I'm short. It's okay. I don't want to damage the equipment. Perfect. I think that's good, yeah. Okay, can you all hear me all right? Yeah? All right. Hello, thank you so much for coming. I'm Arlene, and thanks Nicole, also Michael, and Lana, wherever she went, right there, for having us here tonight. So I thought, the thing about thank you for coming, especially tonight, because it's St. Patrick's Day. You're not supposed to be here listening to poetry. You're supposed to be drinking green beer and Jello shots and Irish car bombs, right? So I appreciate that you're here, that you're celebrating with us, and I thought that since it is kind of an event night, I was looking around at all the different events going on in the city. I didn't want you all to feel like you were missing out on stuff because you were here. This is the place to be. So what I did was, I went through the Weekly, the Stranger, City Arts, and figured out what was going on tonight, and I matched up poems to some of the major events so that you could feel like you were here and there, and that poetry was everywhere. All right. By the way, the thing about St. Patrick's Day, it is kind of like the way I see poetry. It is confusing. It is bastardized. It involves alcohol, and sometimes things that are just made up. For example, the green thing is a little weird because you're supposed to wear green, but at the same time, when I looked this up online, green is considered or was considered an unlucky color in Ireland at one point, but now is the national color. I don't know. Leprechauns. So green, you're also supposed to be wearing it because it makes you invisible to leprechauns, but leprechauns wear green, or so we say, so can they see themselves? I'm not sure. Leprechauns are supposed to be making shoes, which I didn't even know, so yet they have a pot of gold. Cobblers are always poor. Where are leprechauns getting all these gold? I don't know. It was sort of a mix of very confusing things to me, and yet I was okay with it because I thought that it was a merging of ideas and traditions, and that was working for me. All right, so tonight, here's what you're not missing. 9 p.m. at the Sunset Tavern in Ballard. The Celtic sensation, Deaf Leprechaun. Central Cinema is playing Leprechaun in the Hood. Horror, comedy, horrible comedy. It's the story of 3 rappers in LA who accidentally free a leprechaun who was imprisoned 20 years ago by record producer Mac Daddy Onassis, played by Ice-T of Law & Order fame. That, by the way, is the 5th in the Leprechaun series. The first one starring little-known actress then Jennifer Aniston. And Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance in 3D opens tonight for 1 week only. Don't miss it. I didn't have any poems about leprechauns or shamrocks or wearing green, but I did have a poem about alcohol. Here we go. Tonic. No river is so clear as this glass of vodka, neat, unmuddied. Man cannot spoil you as much as you spoil man, his thinking nature. He puts his pen to rest when your tale starts to spin him. A classic story, icy winter, the warming of spring, summer's girlish trick, until he reaps what he's sown, the geese flown, the bloom on his cheeks, deciduous. Tell again how the river freezes clear and strong, how he walks on water. Also going on tonight, the Moisture Festival kicks off. Hales Palladium in Fremont. It is a variety of cabaret, burlesque, vaudevillian shows, including aviatrix, all-girl troupe of trapeze artists who fly above you in sexy flapperwear. Just take a moment to envision it, be there, okay? Thing about burlesque and aerial shows, they're very hot in Seattle right now for some reason. Both of them always make me feel a little bit like odd man out because I'm there in my Seattle wear at the burlesque show, and everyone's in their fancy frilly panties dancing around, and me, runt-legged and afraid of heights, is at the aerial shows with these long-limbed dancer types. But then I thought, that's okay, odd man out. And then this poem came to mind. It's a poem about feeling out of place, feeling like you're the odd man out. Turtle Sister. Dioramas, second floor, Bell Museum of Natural History. By the way, it starts out with a list of bird names. Cruel, the creator, Wimbrel, herring, gull, Hudsonian godwit, black-bellied plover, even the least sandpiper, all feathered, temporary to river, to land. I am the only non-winged thing in this scene. Like so many visitors to the seashore, they flock and wade, preen and flirt with the lace of tide, washing and unwashing over their long, slender legs. The air swells with a white-rumped flutter of their gabbled comings and goings, loudly oblivious to the shell grit of my days below. One transient turn, happy as only a Caspian tern can be, whoops out to his fraternity of masked goons. Jerk. I spend my days here silent, craning toward the sky, studying flight patterns. Thing is, if I turn my flipper just so, it resembles a wing of sorts, though no plumes. I am as naked and stony as a polished pit. But I'm no feather brain. I know about Darwin and the Galapagos. The next turn may be mine. You've heard of the hare and that tortoise? She was my sister. I think in slow and steady designs. I've seen the smooth silver of something in the sky, like the underside of a pearled shell. Sister, wait for me. My thoughts race. At the Seattle Art Museum, the movie Bunny Lake is Missing is playing. If I weren't here, I would be there. It's Otto Premier's 1965 thriller and cult classic about a missing child whose existence is near impossible to prove. The description from the stranger was, a young American mother arrives in London with her 4-year-old daughter, Bunny, who promptly disappears. Police search for her, but no one can remember actually seeing Bunny. Did she ever exist, or is her mother bonkers? I like this idea of missing children or being kidnapped or getting lost, and a lot of the poems in my book are kind of about that, based loosely on the Hansel and Gretel story of two kids who are either kicked out or run away, depends on what version of the story that you go for. But here's one that kind of reminded me of that. Bunny Lake is Missing. Tiger Brother. Starts with 2 epigraphs from the composer Antonin Dvorak, series of letters he wrote. Letter, Antonin Dvorak to his children. Otilka, you are the oldest and most sensible, and I depend on you. Be good then. Remember what I say. Letter, Antonin Dvorak to Anton Seidel. And now, the horrible story between mother and witch is going on. Tiger Brother. Mother passed to me her tiger, cruel and hungry, come to make of me his meal if I went on disobeying. Beast, left wandering, left guarding what forms he could not become. Impatient himself, he could not wait 100 days to see the sun. He left the bear to his own story. It's always this way. It seems 2 brothers parting, the good and the bad one, creating nations of believers, of sinners. Tiger Brother prowls now, keeps watch on all the young from mother's line, hunts what he lost, ready to take you from home, your true fear, drag you like meat to an unknown lair, where soon you too will go, unknown. Home, you imagine, goes on forgetting you. Dear, naughty children, there is no negotiating, no escape by riddle. There is just being swept off under a warm, coarse coat. No more family, no more name, lost in strange music. It's hard to tell, mother or tiger. Both hold you close to their breast. Their line, don't forget. A ghost rumor, a breath like a door opening, closing. It's hard to tell which. I have never seen a guardian angel. though tigers are plenty, and grim tales, all the ways of lapsing. I have forgotten, mother. I pass, unschooled, unchurched. I wander in the wood, thimbles spent, pecked by evening's thousand beaks, always about to meet an old woman who will catch me in the crook of her wizened arm, croon foul, familiar songs, stitch me to her belly, boil away my name, marry me to her twig broom, her lonely tiger brother. Okay, sports fans, I haven't forgotten you. Round 1, NCAA tournament, happening tonight, March Madness, right? Basketball fans in here? Not me, by the way. I had to have what that was explained to me by my husband. And so for those of you who don't understand what the NCAA tournament March Madness basketball thing is all about, perhaps I shall pick out, allow me to choose the most salient thing about it. So in round 1, the best teams, tell me if I get this right, Lorian, the best teams play the worst teams. There are all these groupings of teams. And in the first round, the best teams, as a reward for being the best teams, get to play the worst teams. I'm not sure why the worst teams get that. But then, in the entire history of bests and worsts, 100, maybe more games, the worst teams have never won. So you're a worst team. You're Murray State. You are Southwestern Texas. You're Mississippi Valley State University going into this game knowing you're going to lose. There's not a chance in hell you're going to win. And I said, well, why would they do that? Isn't it depressing? And Lorian said, no, they're happy. They are thrilled to be doing this. Why? Because they get to play UCLA, Duke, Georgetown, these big names, people that they admire. That's totally foreign to me. I would say, no, I'm not going to go in there to lose. But I guess it's about embracing who you are, where you are, survival, persistence. So I thought, okay, good. I have a poem about losers. A couple things you might want to know. This poem, the inspiration for it was when I read a news story, several news stories about a racehorse. It was a Japanese racehorse several years ago. The name was Haru Urara. I might be pronouncing that wrong. And the thing about this horse was it was a loser. It lost every race it ever ran, every race, and it became famous. People in Japan loved this horse. This horse had a huge, if this horse were still racing now, I think it probably has a Facebook page, but it was beloved, even though it was a loser, which is not usually the way we think. The other thing is, I was being a loser when I wrote this because I'd been trying to write a sonnet, a traditional sonnet, 14 lines, iambic pentameter for the longest time, and I was failing marvelously until I thought, I'm going to make my own form. I'm going to call it a fallen sonnet. I'm going to write in syllabics, which is usually an East Asian form, more so than American, because English doesn't necessarily jive with syllabics, but I'm going to do 10 syllables per line. Pentameter, those of you who are familiar with the sonnet, breaks down into 10. I'm going to do 14 lines, but I'm going to save and hoard up the last syllable from every line into a shadow 15th line that has all the lost and gathered syllables. As I said, this is also kind of a poem about survival and persistence, and since it is a Japanese racehorse, I was thinking about Japan and the earthquake, so that comes into play too. Litany for Common Horses, a Fallen Sonnet. 2 epigraphs. Haru Urara, Glorious Spring in Japanese, loses her 106th straight race from the Associated Press. Ordinarily, you couldn't lose that many if you wanted to. Comment by fan Ryosuke Koshimitsu. Litany for Common Horses. Not as easy as it looks, holding back, timing these missteps to mimic nature's fall from grace. This betrayal of sinew and stride must continue for another spring to have its place. Once more, after winter's brittle breath, give me your tired, hungry, and poor. Hurry, hurry, no savior's donkey. Like you, I do the work of father's father. Fight lost brothers, name hope, race, death. As I circle apace, an echo passing farther, fainter, through the crowd, petals plucked from night's bough. Heave your pack again, speed the circuit. Call up the fallen, practice name by name, the letting go. skip ahead because I want to end on a personal note. And also read you the SoulFood poem that I have. So, a little bit about this poem. Right before I wrote this, I was traveling a lot. I was in Europe, in Asia, a little bit in the Middle East, and all those languages around me reminded me of one summer when I decided that I was going to go all out at the Seattle International Film Festival. And for the entire time, I saw movies from 9 a.m. until midnight, all day, back-to-back movies in all different languages. And if there was a midnight movie too, I would see that until 2 a.m. And I was in this swirl of languages. It got to the point where I would watch a movie and I would think, no, I know Norwegian. I can understand Czech now because it's just around you and you're immersed in it. I almost forgot how to speak English. When someone would actually say something like, oh, excuse me, you're in my seat, it was a blessing. I felt so grateful. I felt so in love with them for reminding me about this language. And it was kind of that experience when you travel internationally and you can't seem to communicate to anyone and then someone is able to communicate to you. Another thing, this poem is about love, among other things. Anyone out there who has been writing and has been discouraged and who's lost hope and found it again and lost it again, let me read you this. When I was applying to grad school, I asked one of my mentors and instructors at the time to write me a recommendation. She said, sure. I sent her this brief little bio note. Here's an excerpt from her response back. Arlene, your statement has made such a poor impression on me that I no longer feel I can wholeheartedly recommend you. If I were speaking to colleagues, I would describe it as breezy, journalistic, cliched, and glib, citing specific passages as examples and consider it the best argument possible for not admitting you to grad school in poetry writing. Although it does suggest that teaching high school English, ESL, or even fiction writing might be likely avenues for you. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm not opposed to informality and humor, but breezy and glib can never be words of praise for a poet. A poet is invested in choosing words carefully. A good writer tries to avoid prefabricated phrases. Conversational would be fine, but not the conversation of a valley girl. Like, I'm so into poetry. This is the effect on me of your repeated I love it's. Finally, the equation of storytelling and poetry seems to me misguided. I regret any inconvenience this has caused you. B. Part of my response to her included poor, much aligned, prefabricated phrases. Our everyday conversation is woven together, held together with prefabricated phrases. Hey, how are ya? Will that be all? Things are fine. All set. What's up? Or sup? Or beautiful day out. What a night. I embrace these phrases. I love these phrases. No one gives them their due. I forget to too, so I wrote a little something to remind me. It's not the poem, just my reminder. Some report our world in small words we know by heart. Dear pebbles, little pearls. We all marvel at the vast mountain, colossal. Who praises each stone? Then I wrote, what's wrong with saying that you love something? People are too afraid to say it. Is it preposterous to say I love poetry? To repeat it? I certainly hope not, because I love poetry. Thank you. And here's my last poem. It includes funny voices. I'm no Austrian, but I know love. Vilma tells me that Austrians don't say, I love this or that, the way Americans do. Love is not used that way, she says from the passenger seat. Say it to yourself in a Schwarzeneggerian way to really hear me. Love is not used that way. While correcting her dirndl and patting down the perfect wig of her hair, she says, I say I love my husband, Siggy, short for Siegfried, driving in his deerskin trousers. Or I love my daughter, Linda, next to me on our way to the christening. But not I love my car, or I love that movie, or I love the mountains, or I love vacation, you know? I do, but I don't. This is the second time I've heard this. An old teacher told me first, the way you say, I love poetry is so Valley Girl. Like God, another American great. Did I love it? What do I love? During the car ride, we all swerve side to side as Siggy navigates the narrow roads up the mountain. I say over to myself, over and over, love, 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 until the word erases itself, loses all shame, badge, memory, reward, fragility, heartbreak, song. Hear just the sound. I love when that happens. Dirndl, 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 wig, 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 mountain, 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 car, 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 deer, 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 swerve, 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 love, 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 love. Start again from sound. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arlene. That was really wonderful. That was great. And next up, we have Nicole Hardy with some surprises. It should be fun. Oh, husbands. More than one? All right. Let's give her a welcome, Nicole.
I'll just be up here. I thought they were going to do my. I'm confused by the mic stand. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, what's that gonna be? That seems dangerous, right?
You'll be all right.
Oh no, no, we're good. Yeah. Should I introduce you guys before? So I'm going to introduce my band. This is Bob Congleton on bass. This is this is Kevin Wood on guitar. I refer to them as the handsome husbands, although neither of them are married to me. And this is Georgia, Bob's lovely wife, and my percussion section tonight. In lieu of you, I take your poems upstairs to see my drawings. We begin on the chaise lounge, where your poems wait patiently while I slip into something we'll say is a vintage peignoir and high-heeled marabou slippers. Your poems prefer to be read slowly, to ease down my throat, drawn mesmerically inside, like the dark mystery of smoke through a black lacquered cigarette holder. Your words move within me, take whatever length is necessary to draw pleasure from the sounds that lay me bare. Tremble below the skin, open my body to breaking, lines like prayers that rise and echo inside this hollow place. Thank you. My next poem is going to be my soul food poem. My spiritual home is in the tropics, and at one point in my life, I sold everything I owned and moved to a tropical island. And something about the music and the salt and the smell of the waves and all of that just really speaks to me. I don't know how I ended up in this body with this pale skin. I'm sure I was born on the wrong continent. This one is called Before the Hurricane. It was the moon-bright sand and the hush of night waves, Havana Club on your breath and limes. The way your skin, or maybe mine, tasted of rum, heat. Night, salt heavy, lay close, like the consolation of your body, drawing out the dark mass of love's most recent grief. It was Los Soneros del Barrio, and the way we danced, my heart returning to the rhythm of La Clave. It was you, El Tumbador, your hands, hips, thighs, your eyes on me, the way they stayed. It was Jimmy Bosch and the Spanish Harlem Orchestra, congas, bongos, timbales, an echo of pulse and tongue, and the impossible promise of bed. Thank you. I just want to call special attention to Georgia and her awesome fish and sticks. A+. This next poem is kind of autobiographical. The beautiful thing about poetry is that you can make yourself into a character and be even more glamorous or evil or dangerous than you ever would be in real life. I don't know if this poem is about any of those things, but it is about what I did last summer and since. Vince, the union boss, in dark glasses and a pinky ring, may have been the first to notice I'm a peach. And though I lack courage, cleavage, a signature scent, there's something of me people envy. I sample produce before I buy, flirt shamelessly with strangers, knowing no man will leave me without a story. I chucked peanuts at Wrigley Field, spent last Valentine's Day in jail, accidentally slept in one of Ted Bundy's killing rooms. I became a bartender, trained to wait as long as it takes for the secrets. James Bond never sauntered in, didn't ask me to make his martini, dry or otherwise, but I came prepared to finish what I started. Slide velvet down the slow curve of a Crown Royal bottle, set it aside, and then turn to ice, vodka, vermouth, and olives. I've learned that most things depend on timing. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of have this thing for reality TV. There is a place where I draw the line, though. I will do American Idol, and I will do Dancing with the Stars. I secretly love What Not to Wear. But there's a place where I draw the line, and that is at The Bachelor. I feel like this entire show has put feminism back like 400 years. All these women like, oh, please pick me. I don't even know you, and let's get married, and I'm going to cry when I lose because I've lost something that doesn't exist. And I just think it's really sort of traumatizing, the things we do for love. And I mean, are we just ridiculous, or are we that lonely? I don't know. And that's what this poem is about. It's a found poem, which means that everything in my poem has been lifted from another source and sort of cut and rearranged. Specifically, the online episode guide from The Bachelor Rome. And it's called Everything Bad About Being a Girl. This time, he's not just a figurative Prince Charming. He's the real deal. With such an amazing bachelor, the search is on for truly amazing women. The producers deliver roses to the chosen ones, sending the women into a tizzy. Erica contemplates bringing fur, but her mother dissuades her because of animal rights. They get manicures and shriek with glee when they see Lorenzo. Desiree wriggles with delight, then squeals how hot he is. It seems a strange but wonderful dream to Lorenzo. Rosella sold her car to pay for expenses, such as gowns. She has faith she's going to be a princess. Lorenzo is juggling 25 women and finding it to be very difficult. In the garden, Carissa gives him a little dance, calls him baby, asks to kiss him. She wants the earrings really badly. Sadie reveals she's saving herself for marriage. Other girls consider that strange. They're going to tell Lorenzo. The girls are in bikinis for football on the beach. Blondes versus brunettes. Jennifer, who considers herself a total package, demonstrates one of her cheers. Lorenzo says he's in heaven. Kim drinks too much, throws up, and falls asleep. Jamie and Desiree decide to be bad. They're in his bed when he walks in and catches them. But they're not in trouble. He considers it a dream come true, especially when they start having a pillow fight. Sadie says, "This is the fairy tale I dreamed about. Dating a prince is the best thing ever." Truth or dare, Desiree is dared to feed Lorenzo a grape with her mouth. Jennifer has to drink wine out of his belly button. "I feel like the luckiest girl alive," Jennifer tells the camera. It was the most romantic night of his life. Erica thinks Lorenzo needs to stop being a dumbass and show some interest in her. Desiree says, "I could have been great for Lorenzo. I could have been awesome. I would have taken great care of him." Lisa has her love life mapped out. Engaged at 26, married at 27, which leaves 10 months to find someone. My next poem is, don't start yet, even though it's your cue. My next poem is called "Why I Don't Write Love Poems," and it was written in response to a person who asked me why I don't write love poems, and ironically, of course, that's what it turned into. But it starts with me as sort of a 10-year-old girl when I had this crisis about like who to be in love with, Butch Cassidy or the Sundance Kid. And I was sort of like too young to know that the Sundance Kid was really dumb. And like clearly Paul Newman is the right choice, but you just don't know that when you're like 10 and your heart is aflutter. And better yet, I have this story that's totally unrelated, which is my friend who's a pilot flew the other day with Robert Redford in first class, and I was like, "Tell me everything." And all he gave me was, the flight attendant said he was messy. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, what kind of mess? Like, did he just spill his napkin? Did he like knock, I mean, he's like 100 years old. Did he just like knock over his drink? Or did he like bring his own mess and scatter it around? Like, I just needed more specifics, and they had nothing to give me. And so I'm irritated. But this is the poem. It's called Everything. No, what's it called? Why I Don't Write Love Poems.
Is that my cue?
That's your cue. Go! It most likely began with Robert Redford, my grade school heart, waiting with him in the almost dark for Catherine Ross. So he, unbearably cool, could make her undress as he watched from the bed and the mirror, skin and curve and heat rising like a mirage from the layers of chalk dust and petticoats that fell in whispers to the floor. In the morning, Paul Newman arrives, eyes blue beyond cliche, with a song and a bicycle not quite built for two. years of daisies blooming despite Robert Redford's hypnotic and spectacular indifference. Before that, my favorite song was the story of a woman who was in love with a man who was also in love with her, but more in love with the sea. And when asked to picture my perfect husband, he was forever a fireman, and I knew and loved knowing he would always be leaving. 30 years before the metallic, unwashed smell of you, there's no, so close, there's no telling whose dream belongs to which pillow. Before the seconds that pulse through me at the turn of your key, when after days and nights of flight, you arrive in the dark hours, making every waiting day shudder with a particular perfection. I knew even then the romance in being left and leaving. And there were the Sunday school lessons that don't let him touch you here, don't let him there, or anywhere in between, as if a woman would never ache for what your body has blessed me with. There were the excruciating verbs they chose, the necking and the petting, the intercourse. There was the day last summer my mother told me to close my eyes when Tristan and Isolde were half nude and kissing. Unfathomable that an unmarried woman should be allowed to see, to sympathize, to feel a woman's desire, and worse, that I might be tempted to draw my fingers slowly beneath a man's last rib, to watch him long enough to feel his breathing catch. There were the bridal showers manufactured by church ladies supervising the assembly line of near-child brides, deluged with bouquets of cleaning supplies, given pots and spatulas, given nightgowns that left everything to the imagination. Conspicuously absent were all things sheer and dark, the agonizing thrill of a hand appraising a tight row of buttons, men who have learned how and when and why a woman moves, nipples that freeze, thighs that fall open, rise as his voice buries itself in her name. Everything that might prepare a woman to undress at gunpoint for one of the men she loves. So, here's the best part of the show. I have a secret dream to be a tambourine girl my whole entire life. So now that I have a band, I have a tambourine. This is a 20-inch Rhythm Tech tambourine, if anyone needs to know. Goodness. I know. So, for dessert. Oh, don't go yet. Sorry. I keep messing up my cues. Okay. Yeah, it's true. I didn't actually say the word. All right.
One word.
I'm not saying it. All right. So all of the next two poems I'm going to read come from my chapbook of Shakespearean sonnets in the voice of the Mudflap Girl, the silver silhouette who gained fame on the mudflaps of trucks in the 1970s. And all of them are spoken by her, and all of them hopefully give you an opportunity to think about this girl in a different way. So for dessert, we're going to have some candy. No strings attached to make me say mama or play who's your daddy. Call me a doll, but no Ken-type cutie guy is gonna tie me dream house down in cul-de-sac Hall of Fame. I know the feminist front line doesn't get my groove, but it's ironic they'll box me up with dogma and divine my faults through stereotype. Laconic labels dismiss the risk that lies in my legitimacy. If I'm just easy, cheesy, degrading, there's no reason why they should spin the spin to validate me. And yet we agree on the crucial stance that smarts aren't inherently tied to pants. Say I'm not smart, well-read, well-bred or chic. At least I know my audience. On tour, I'm the semi-starlet, cheeky and sleek. A Peterbilt-powered entrepreneur. So I'm objectified, so my breasts scandalize. My hips and thighs are supersized. What else would you expect from America's muse? Call me notorious, vainglorious. I'm shameless, nameless, naughty and fast. Oh, and supposedly the enemy of every self-respecting feminist. Whatever happened to the don't hate me because I'm beautiful school of work it, babe, whether or not you were born with it? Thanks, everybody. Thanks to my band.
Wow. All right, we are going to go into the break, and I hope that you will talk to our poets, buy some books, shop the store, sign up for the open mic sheet, which was in the back. The question this evening, sponsored by our barista and wonderful human being Taylor, is your favorite drink. Let's give another round of applause for our incredible, awesome readers tonight, Arlene Kim, and for Nicole Hardy and her band.
Well, we're ready to get going again with the second part of Soul Food Poetry Night. So glad you're all here, and I hope you've signed up. And if you haven't, there's still time later. I've got the sign-up sheet here, and we'll get started with that in a moment. To start with, I thought I'd share with you a poem for St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if any of you have tried writing triolet, the triolet form, which has certain repeating lines in it. This is a triolet for St. Patrick's Day. If you happen to go to a bar on March 17 this year, take care not to travel too far if you happen to go to a bar. For you shouldn't drive home by car if you've had just a bit too much beer. If you go to a happening bar on March 17 this year. There you go. Okay, our question this evening is, what is your favorite drink? And our first reader says hot cocoa, which works for me. And our first reader's name is Brendan.
Between the experience and the perception, haiku. When the first one sang, the others flew away. The buzzing symphony when I am first aware that I am not awake. And this is actually not a good poem. No, that's the title. This is not a good poem. This is a bad poem. This poem is mean to puppies. This poem catches flies and puts them in spiders' webs. This poem trips people, glues quarters to the floor, laughs when they try to pick them up. This poem is unruly. It heckles other poems. This poem is not a good role model. This poem drinks, smokes, hangs out in tattoo parlors on the mean side of the tracks. This poem frightens the elderly. Laughs at others' misfortune. This is a bad poem. Once, in grade school, this poem beat up that slow kid and took his lunch money. Things have only gone downhill since. This poem is packing. It's a rough neighborhood. This is a rough poem. Sometimes this poem deals pot, rolls junkies and drunks. A good poem wouldn't do such things. This poem is a loner. No need for influences. Keats, Nash, Kipling, McClure. This poem is self-sufficient. This poem is proud. Someday, this poem will be shot down on the street. But today, no one messes with this poem. This is a bad poem.
Thank you, Brendan. And next up, we have someone who enjoys mocha, someone who's recently moved back to our neighborhood from California, and we're so glad to have her back, Janine Hall-Gailey.
Hey, I wanted to say thanks to the featured readers because I thought they were both awesome. So nice work. I was really impressed. It was so much fun. I'm bringing a poem. I've been writing a series about Japanese apocalypse and, am I too close? Even closer than that? And then tip it up. Quite so. Here we go. Can you hear me now? All right. So I've been working on a series of poems about the nuclear contamination of my childhood hometown of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and also working on a series of poems about Japanese apocalypse. So it's just been horrifying the last few days, all the news that's been coming in. And so I'm reading a poem tonight dedicated to the Japanese victims of the devastation going on over there. And my book's for sale on my website. I put out a couple of cards in the back, and all the proceeds in the next 2 weeks are going to Doctors Without Borders for Japan. So this poem, one of the contaminants that's leaking out into the environment right now in Japan is called cesium. And cesium is an element that It builds up in the body over time. It can cause cancer, mental illness, the breakdown of organs. This is called cesium burns blue. Copper burns green, sodium yellow, strontium red. Watch the flaming lights that blaze across your skies, America. There are burning satellites even now being swallowed by your horizon, the detritus of space programs long defunct, the hollowed masterpieces of dead scientists. Someone is lying on a grassy hill, counting shooting stars, wondering what happens when they hit the ground. In my backyard, they lit cesium to measure the glow. Hold it in your hand. Foxfire, wormwood, glowworm. Cesium lights the rain, absorbed in the skin, unstable, unstable, dancing away, ticking away in bones, fingernails, brain. Sick, burns through, burns blue. That's my poem. Thanks a lot.
I have the last mouthful of bagel. I didn't get to eat earlier. Double tall non-fat latte. Who wants one of those? I think Jim Teeters does.
Okay, I'll be reading from a new poetry book, Don't Turn Away, Poems in Search of Spirituality. And coincidentally, I have a poem here that's fairly timely called The Water Rises. Wiping away the boats, the dock, the town, the hills behind the town. The highlands are no refuge, the hills no answer. The treetops laugh as I climb. The water rises, wiping away the boats, the dock, the town, the hills behind the town, adrift. The shore shifts, the center of the world shifts. The town, the hills behind the town, the boats and the dock shift. The water rises, the center of the world moves, wiping away the boats, the dock, the town, the hills behind the town, everything adrift. And a little different note. It's called She Thought She Heard. She thought she heard angels breathe, soft as desert sand, wind that gently stirred the leaves. Beneath her feet, solid earth, above the firmament. All was still as a country wheat field on a summer evening. Then, their breathing, she thought she heard. She wept, not despair, but something like a child's arms reaching for a mother. So she breathed with them in unison, knew how small she was, how far from home. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. Our next reader enjoys Sprite. I think Michael likes Sprite too. Yes. Please welcome Pearl Is it Rincon? Yay! Come on, Pearl. Come on, Pearl. Come on, Pearl. Yeah. Just stepping up to the mic, you get applause. What if we help you read it? We could help you read it. Come on. Come on. Yay!
Let's stand over here. Come on. Okay.
You do it.
No, it's your poem. They want to hear you do it. Tell them what it's called. Pearl. Come on. Just read your poem.
Please, can you do it?
Because I can't say it like you.
Mm-mm.
You have a much nicer voice than me, and I got up there, so you have to do it. Come on.
You've been on stage many times anyway. Come on. We made it all the way over here. Mocha Mill.
We could all turn our back.
Please.
Okay, they're not going to look at you. Okay. Ding, ding, ding.
Kid playing with dolls. Wee wee. Mom cooking pancakes. Bam bam. Dad in the garage fixing the car. Squeak squeak. Brother playing Mario video games. Yes, yes. Sister talking on the phone. What? And I'm spying on my family's rooms.
Thank you for being brave. You know, when you do it 100 times, it gets easier and easier. I like Sprite too. Our next reader likes pomegranate juice, and that is Peggy Barnett.
I'm going to read two short poems. The first poem is about a flower called a night blooming cereus. It's a desert plant, and I'm growing it indoors. And it only blooms once a year. And it has a big, this is the picture, it's a big white flower. It's like this big. So it's called I Missed It. My night blooming cereus bloomed last night. I was sleeping, and I missed it. This morning, it hung there pink and flaccid, obscene, and smelling faintly of sweat. I missed observing its erect state. Is once a year really too much to ask? The next one is called Onion Skin. I put down the knife, looking down, the onion skin, a fragile round cup, translucent and crackling, sits in my palm next to the green pepper on the wooden cutting board. The gray March wind blows branches outside the window. I feel fragile, peeled off of life's layers, eyes burning. I think about finding the pale oak tag folder filled with poems written in my 30s. They were typed on onion skin paper, thin black translucent words, blue and blurry carbon copies. My finger can still smudge them after all of these years. I read some of the lines and feel myself falling backwards. Shoulders stripped bare, cracks with curly hair, a pimple here and there, mattresses thrown in shadow corners, pink stripes shredded with little gold buttons with lots of tiny holes, hanging by a limp thread, and the cuts unreleasing, the sharpness increasing, the futile, unending desire not ceasing. Now I understand why poets burn their earlier work. Youth drying up, my old yellow onion skin crackles falling to the ground, broken autumn leaves. Don't bother. Why read those old young feelings again? Mother used to say, if everything is going well, don't go skate on the ice. The gibbous moon shines upon the vast frozen lake beneath the cloud layer of my dreams. But, unheeding of her advice, I walk out upon the lake of black ice and look down to see the white faces of my past staring at me through a window of frozen glass. Their eyes are open, their palms pressed up against the surface, their mouths open in the middle of a cry. Sharp yellow stars float below. Moonlit silence. These faces extend all around me, infinitely, in all directions, as far as I can see. I stand alone in the center of my own circle, alone in the nightlight, casting a long blue shadow, waiting, waiting. Crack.
Thank you, Peggy. It's so good to have you back at Soul Food. You know, your poem and Pearl's bravery made me want to recite my favorite William Stafford poem, which I haven't tried to memorize in years, so I may really screw it up. But it's kind of about the wisdom of being a young person. It's about the wisdom of childhood, which we take for granted. And some lines in your poem kind of reminded me of that too. So this is a William Stafford poem called One Evening. On a frozen pond a mile north of Liberal, almost 60 years ago now, I skated wild circles while a strange, pale sun went down. A scattering of dry, brown reeds cluttered the ice at one end of the pond, and a fitful breeze ghosted little surface eddies of snow. I would go home, confront all my years, the tangled events to come, but never would I know more than I did that evening, waving my arms in the lemon-colored light. Never underestimate the wisdom of childhood. And I should say my favorite drink is mint green tea, which they're out of tonight, but I love the way Taylor makes it. Our next reader is Danielle Jacobowitz, who enjoys a hot buttered rum. Welcome, Danielle.
You know, I should have read everyone else's favorite drink because I didn't realize we were talking about that kind of drink. Oops. Sorry. 1 second. This is Innocence. They come to church in pairs of cloaks, coated in solemnity, and white collars, finding assurance in the reflection of purity, as they force their little ones to look upon the hanged man with his strange black skin and lolling tongue, a familiar shade of pink. Their hands twitch as something evaporates from the whites of their terrified eyes. And this is Muse. Actually, I think I'll leave it open. Pearl, I get nervous too. This is like the 100th time I've read, and my heart's just to let you know. I scared the crap out of her. Did you see her jump? This is Muse. There was a long slit cut up to the thigh of her dress, colored red like the letters of witches and the blood of their daughters. With every high-heeled step, a soft click and a flash of lace pulls my gaze. I wonder if she'll float or even scream should I wrap my fingers around her slender waist and push her into the dirty river. She turns and blinks accusingly, a lifted eyebrow slipping key after key into my startled palms. They clatter as they hit the floor, her pretty earrings tinkering like wind chimes. I'll take off your shoes, your sinful dress, your glittering jewels. Put down your whiskey, New Orleans. I'll sing you to sleep. Is it okay if I read one more? Okay. This is Siren, a tribute to people in Japan right now. The dust of uncountable years had settled into her skin, turning her hair a startling shade of white. We froze as the aging sea stretched and shook. We watched wordless as she opened her mouth and closed it over the land, dragging her teeth and raking her fingernails down the walls of our homes, leaving the earth ridden with holes for her to leak through. What of our children, we cried, as her terrible lips receded, leaving only tremors to remind us of the one she returned and her unfathomable mercy. Thank you.
Thank you. No one has put down root beer float. Why not? Now, one of my favorite drinks is a variation of that, and it's with orange soda and a good vanilla ice cream. With a Jones orange soda, and a good vanilla bean ice cream. Now that's a good drink. The Neon Buddha feels sick, but that's something he'd rather not bring up. Why did the Neon Buddha cross the playground? To get to the other slide. The Neon Buddha can't shake his booty, except when he's a pirate. The Neon Buddha has a theory about earthquakes, but it's shaky. The Neon Buddha speaks Esperanto like a native. The Neon Buddha had a tent-making business, but it folded. The Neon Buddha is so into boating, he goes overboard. Let's see, I've got some more. The Neon Buddha just learned the difference between Netherlands and nether regions. The Neon Buddha is feeling old, but he'll grow out of it. The Neon Buddha likes to think of himself as an antidepressant. One more. The Neon Buddha fancies himself happy, but sometimes he just fancies himself. Okay, that's enough of the Neon Buddha for tonight. Our next reader's favorite drink is called Sprunch. Anyone know what that is? I will explain. It's Hawaiian Punch and Sprite. Sprunch. Lisa Best.
It's a drink from Hawaii, by the way. They drink it way too much. I was inspired to read this poem tonight, actually by Pearl. Her bravery inspired me. I was reminded of a poem that I wrote for a spoken word performance when I went to the University of Washington. Closer. Okay. When I went to the UW and I was involved in the mixed student organization, there's the Black Student Union, there's the Asian sororities, there's all different kinds of groups that, celebrate diversity, and that was one of the groups there. And we perform spoken word every quarter, and even though it's long since that I've been involved with it, this poem is still special to me. So I dedicate it to Pearl, who's also half Chinese like me. I was never given a chance to check just one, but still call myself unique through the person I've become. Opposites combined, singularity of race no longer there. I'm a mutt mixed together, combination of the colors that I bear. Skin fair, darkness scared, and to where, my friends, this leaves me. No longer do I try to hide my squinty eyes, no lies in colors or race, showing my face in public with my mom and dad. The stare's not sad, instead intrigue, curiosity, and awe, yet beauty and love. We're in a tangled world of black, yellow, white, and brown. Only I choose none of the above. I'm everything at once, product of due time. Now too deep in this, not to climb. Above a sometimes conceited world of presumptions made, like I'm some product of a soldier overseas that just wanted to get laid. Nothing close, I'm foreign cultures merged. I had no choice but to take neither path in those woods diverged. Chinese and American, it would be cliche to say best of both worlds. I prefer to think of it as a caramel sundae with rainbow sprinkles gently swirled. Thank you.
Was that your first time up here? Oh, we need to give you a woo! Yes. And next up, someone who enjoys a soul food iced jasmine chai. Please welcome Dia Watson.
Okay, so there's a poem that I had to recite for a class once. It was an Arabic class, and the challenge for the quarter was to memorize a poem by a Lebanese poet named Nizar Kabani. And it's a love poem written from the perspective of a man to a woman. And I just really not only love this poem, but I also love the Arabic language. And with the Middle East being in the news so much lately, I recognize that a lot of the exposure that most people have of the Arabic language is often only through the news, in which case you're only hearing people who may be passionate or angry about something. And I want you to know that Arabic is not an angry language, but a beautiful, artful language. I have a brother who's a linguist in other languages, and he says that he doesn't like Arabic because it sounds so angry. And so I recited this poem for him too. And I really hope that I do it well because it is beautiful. So anyway, even if you don't understand it, I hope that if I do it correctly, then you can just enjoy the sounds of a foreign language that's really very beautiful. So, but I'm going to introduce it in Arabic too, and I'll tell you when I start the real poem. But هذا الشعر هذا شعر لنزار قباني، وإن شاء الله الليلة سأتكلم العربية حسن جدا، ولكن إذا أنا لا حسن جدا الليلة أنا آسف، لأن بالنسبة لي العربية أجمل لغة في كل العالم. So, here's the poem. اعتيادي على غيابك صعب، واعتيادي على حضورك أصعب. كم أنا أحبك، حتى إن نفسي من نفسها تتعجب. يسكن الشعر في هدئك عينيك، في اللولى عينيك لا شعر يكتب. منذ أحببتك الشموس واستدارت، والسماوات صرنا أنقى وأرهب. منذ أحببتك البحار جميعا أصبحت من مياه عينيك تشرب. حبك البربري أكبر مني، فلماذا على ذراعيك أصلب؟ أتمنى لو كنت بؤبؤ عيني، أتراني طلبت ما ليس يطلب. أنت أحلى الخرافات في حياتي، والذي يتبع الخرافات يتعب. Thank you.
Merci, gracias, danke, domo arigato gozaimashita. Our next reader likes Earl Grey, but not just Earl Grey at 4 p.m. with a buttered scone, which sounds really good. Tanya McDonald.
Okay, no one's commented. There's a giant, like, green, we've got traffic lights going on here. We need a red one and we can have Sesame Street. It'll be great. By the way, is she still here? The lady who just read the poem in Arabic? She is? Yes, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. My husband was an Arabic linguist for a while, so I recognized a couple words. Very beautiful. Haiku time. Lightning. The rumble of a distant bus. Remembering what stands for first plum blossom. Flooded field, barbed wire separates mallards from widgeons. Utility truck, fanged with orange cones. Spring twilight. Late to a meeting. The wind hurries me along. Rain on the nursery roof. Wilting cyclamen. Jangling zipper. I follow the sky home, puddle by puddle. Polka dots and plaid. What shall we eat for dinner? Chipped mortar. I choose the slice with the most frosting. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Next up, we have Dawn Marie, who enjoys a date with Johnny Depp for her coffee shop drink and a tequila sunrise if she is drinking at the bar. Please welcome Dawn Marie.
So, I saw the question. I'm going, wait, what kind of drink? There's many different kinds of drinks. So, first of all, y'all celebrate St. Patrick's Day, but where I come from, we don't do that. I come from Minnesota, and we have a different day on the 16th called St. Urho's Day. About 50 years ago, a bunch of Finns got sick of the Irish and made up their own holiday. Yeah, sure, they got sick of those partying, drinking Irish, and they were bored, so they, decided that St. Urho drove the grasshoppers out of Finland to save the grape crop. In Monaga, Minnesota, there's a statue and everything. There's even a book on eBay. Actually, the physical book is $76, the Kindle edition's $11. I looked up yesterday. And it also happens to be my parents' wedding anniversary on the 16th. So, 43 years. Congratulations to them. Yeah. So, I have many reasons for not celebrating St. Patrick's Day, and St. Urho is one of them. And I apologize, I'm not a true haiku person, but these are not also American whole sentences. It's 3 short haiku. They're all together. Death of a red shirt. Curvy Valley Road. Friday night. Chill dark. Speed a reasonable 50. Dirty mud flap truck stalled. Battery uninspired. Driver dithering. Then the film jerks still. New species. Iron bird flies behind the dust cloud. Thank you.
Thank you. Many of our favorite drinks come from the bar where Taylor hangs out. And Taylor's name is on the end of this list. And maybe you can tell us what your favorite drink is. Does anybody else want to read who hasn't signed up? Still chance. While Taylor makes his way up here. That will work. No, no, you're the batting cleanup here. Okay. I might have some neon Buddhas. Oh, yeah, I should announce, I'm forgetting this. Coming up on the last Friday night of this month is the next RASP reading, the Redmond Association of Spoken Word, and it's over at the old Redmond Schoolhouse Community Center, and it will feature Kelly Russell Agadon, and we're very excited to have her come and read. She has a new book, something, letters, thank you. That's it, Letters from the Emily Dickinson Room. And it's from White Pine Press, and the editor of that is a friend of mine. So I'm really excited to hear her read from that book. It should be a great reading. I'm suddenly going blank. Who's reading here next month? I'm going blank. And two people from out of town. Yes. Anyway, check the website. And check it out. Yes. Okay, here comes Taylor. You know, of course, he's just building anticipation.
Well, this has been a marvelous evening, really spectacular. And we owe it all to our featured readers who had to leave for their homes, Nicole Hardy and Arlene Kim. And we owe it all to our open mic performers and to all of our audience members who will become open mic readers who hadn't come up before, but will next time, because they see how warm and wonderful everyone here is. And especially to Soul Food Books and to our wonderful, wonderful barista and our cashier and all of the people who have made this such a special place. So hopefully you'll have poetry in your lives until we see you. Oh, yes, our sound lady whose name I've forgotten. Julie, I'm terrible with names. Please forgive me. Our sound lady. everyone here is really just a special person. And honestly, it just is a reading series that I have been so happy to be involved with, and so happy that Michael included me in it. And I just want to wish you all poetry in your lives, no matter how hard the world is. Good night.